Well, welcome, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the Journey to Thrive podcast. I'm your host today, Jim Friend, and I'm the Director of Mission Advancement for the Saint John Vianney Center. Our podcast is produced by the Saint John Vianney Center. And if you like this content, I hope you're going to stick around and subscribe. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And for more information about the Saint John Vianney Center, please visit us at sjvcenter.org. And today I'm pleased to have a conversation with Dr. Robert Moran, the principal of Bishop Shanahan High School here in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and Mary Kate Sabatino, who is the mental health coordinator for Bishop Shanahan. I'm also joined by my colleague, Linda Rava, who's our director of human resources and a member of our Suicide Prevention and Awareness Collaborative. Dr. Moran, Mary Kate, and Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Great to have you guys here today. I'm just going to offer our listeners a little bit of a background on our conversation, and then we'll get into it. Today, we're talking about creating an awareness of suicide prevention in our communities. And last month, Saint John Vianney Center partnered with Bishop Shanahan to install a suicide awareness bench from Josh's Benches for Awareness. Now, over 100 benches have been donated throughout the country as part of this program for mental health awareness. This bench is the first to be installed in Chester County. Josh's Benches is a nonprofit dedicated to raising awareness on mental health issues and promoting resources to remove the negative stigma surrounding the receiving of help. The benches that are installed serve as a physical symbol that represent the movement surrounding mental health and are also safe places for students to refer to for help. The benches are bright yellow, so they can't be missed, and whoever notices and reads them will know that they're not alone and that there's help out there. And we're so grateful to have had this opportunity to partner with Bishop Shanahan, Dr. Moran. And I know that you already have a growing and robust teen mental health program. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your mental health initiatives that are currently in place at Bishop Shanahan High School?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been over the last few years really growing our mental health supports and our program. Coming out of the COVID era of education, we really saw a pronounced need for additional supports for our students. I think that those needs existed before COVID, but then I think the pandemic really kind of made those needs more pronounced and then really made it clear that we needed to do something more. So we went about planning how can we ensure that all of our students have the tools necessary to persist through difficulty and overcome obstacles and things like that. So we partnered with the CCIU and brought in a program called Teen Mental Health First Aid, which goes into all of our sophomore health and PE classes. And through a pretty thorough curriculum of 6 weeks, they learn about recognizing the signs of mental health crises in themselves or in a peer, and then what to do if they recognize those signs, in seeking out a trusted adult to figure out what the next steps can be. So that was kind of the first piece of the puzzle that we placed in. We also recently hired a mental health coordinator who was on our podcast with us today.
Yeah.
To address some of the acute needs of some students that are experiencing mental health crises throughout the school year. She's been a tremendous help and support for us as well. Last year, we also partnered with the CCIU as a school that participated in a mental health consortium in partnership with the University of Pennsylvania, where we developed a mental health strategic plan for our school. We developed a vision and a mission statement and a tiered system of mental health supports for our students. So we basically have a 3-tiered system of support for our students. Tier 1 are those supports that are offered to all of our students. That's like the Teen Mental Health First Aid curriculum, the Safe to Say presentations, which are presented to all of our students every year, allowing them, giving them a place to call if they suspect a peer or themselves are in danger. And also in our junior and senior classes, we have our guidance counselors go in and speak to them in various ways as well. So we have lots of supports in place for all of our students in that tier 1 role. And then tier 2, those are targeted supports that are for students who, might be showing signs of a growing mental health crisis, and they might need additional supports, maybe regular meetings with a counselor, maybe some altering to their school schedule and additional supports that way. And then tier 3 would be for those students who are experiencing currently a mental health crisis that might require them to miss school for a certain time. We partner with outside organizations, counselors, and groups to support those students in need as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tremendous resources you put in place. And it sounds like has a lot of this been rather recent, or would you say since COVID? When I say recent, the last few years?
Right. I mean, I think a lot of our students have been experiencing, mental health issues and challenges even before COVID. But I think COVID really kind of made it more pronounced.
More acute. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think our students have become much more comfortable in talking about it
Yes.
over the last few years, which I think has really been a tremendous benefit of our program, that our students aren't shy or ashamed in any way of talking about challenges they're going through. So I think we've seen, I think we have seen an increased need, but also, students not being afraid to talk about it. Whereas I think maybe before, even up to 10 years ago, there was a stigma attached to mental health in a way that there wasn't attached to physical health. And I think that's been something good that's come out of this, is that our students aren't afraid to talk about it. So we know more students that are facing these challenges because they're not afraid to talk about it and seek out the help and support that can help them.
That's wonderful. I had 3 high school students actually right in the middle of the pandemic, and so I saw the impact on them. And I know they spent a lot of time FaceTiming with friends. And I remember one of the things with my son is he had a group of friends that he would get online and game with, and that actually wound up being a real saving grace for him, because it wound up being a real opportunity for him to socialize and be with his buddies on a nightly basis in a safe environment. It was just them online. And it really helped him quite a bit. Sometimes my girls, I don't think, had quite that same connection, or they might get, on with FaceTime, but it seemed like every night he was there with his buddies playing games and such. And I think that was a help. Mary Kate, I know we were speaking before the show, and you're pretty new, still just finishing up your first year at Bishop Shanahan High School. What has been your experience of kind of taking the reins on this mental health awareness drive at Bishop Shanahan?
I feel very fortunate to be in the position at Bishop Shanahan. As I said to you before, that my career was in public school in New Jersey, and it made me very happy when I saw that there was a position for a mental health coordinator, at the local Catholic high school. And I know a lot of public schools are doing this as well, but the fact that my main goal is to be there for students to discuss their mental health concerns, I think is amazing, and so needed right now. As Dr. Moran said, kids are much more comfortable, talking about it. One of the best things that I've experienced here is when a student will come see me, and if I hadn't met them before, and I'll ask them, how did you, know to come see me, besides, us letting everyone know I'm here? And they said, oh, my friend talked to you the other day and they recommended you. So 2 things. One, I was happy that a student recommended me, but that students are speaking to each other about that. And they're saying, there's a person here that you can go talk to. And, I love the fact that the stigma of asking for help is getting much less than it was years ago, because one of the biggest things on the way to feeling better is discussing it with someone. I think a lot of our students, in my conversations with them, just knowing that they're not alone, because sometimes if students, don't want to talk about it to their parents, sometimes they can feel like maybe they're the only one feeling this way. So even just having a conversation with myself or another counselor and letting them know that they are not alone and it's okay to talk about this, there's nothing wrong with them, and that it's okay to have these feelings and we can talk about it, I think has been a wonderful way to start, the healing process with our students.
It's wonderful. And it's so much more accepted and common these days than maybe even it was just 10 years ago or 20 years ago, especially when we were all in that age group. But that's beautiful. What are some of the challenges that you've been facing, Mary Kate, as you've gotten this program going?
So I think that one of the biggest things facing our young people is stress and anxiety. I do think that that has gotten more on the forefront since COVID because they have spent so much time at home. And I think, what you said, Jim, that your son was able to still have socialization. For students who did not have that, and adults who go through, you get in your head and you feel like you're the only one who's going through it. And that just makes your stress and anxiety worse. And I think that that is the topic that I talk to most about students is their stress and anxiety level when it comes to schoolwork, when it comes to their grades, when it comes to their peer relationships, when it comes to family relationships. So that is by far the biggest topic when students come to see me. And sometimes they just, they need a minute. They need to kind of remove themselves from, what is stressing them out at that moment. If they're in class and something is upsetting them, and they'll come down for 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes. And we talk about, calming skills and some, healthy coping skills versus unhealthy coping skills. And the goal is to help them so that if this happens when they're not in school, they can kind of do that on their own as well. And just kind of bring themselves back to like a good baseline calm and then kind of talk through and work through what they're dealing with.
And I think Mary Kate touched on a really important point there that, it's giving them those skills to cope when maybe we're not around, because, those challenges they face, whether it's, vestiges of COVID or the stress of work or school or the stress of social media, those things are not going away, right?
Right.
We can't remove the stressors, but we can help them work through them, right? And that's, I think, one of the goals of our entire program is to empower our students with the tools and skills necessary to persevere through difficulty.
That's true. You're giving them a nice toolkit as they progress through high school and then on to adulthood.
Exactly.
Give them a nice toolkit and a good sense of how to handle those situations.
And here at a Catholic school, I think one of those tools, perhaps one of the most essential tools, is their faith. Time to step away and reconnect with what really matters. I mean, because of the fast pace of academics or the workplace, if we're talking about adults, can be overwhelming in our world, right? And that for connection to something deeper and universal, I think, is something unique to our Catholic school. Our Catholic
Absolutely, yeah. At Saint John Vianney Center, our motto is, body, mind, and spirit. That's how we work with our residents and our outpatient folks to be healthy. And I'm sure that you have a similar motto. What role, Dr. Moran, do you see that the school plays in supporting the students' mental health, maybe beyond the classroom?
Right. Yeah, so I think giving them those tools to work through those difficulties and providing space for them to reconnect with what really matters, and also allowing them to connect with one another. So we have a student group called Mindset Matchup that was started by a student last year, actually. It was a student-led initiative, which I think is awesome. And it started as a group of student athletes that came together to support each other through the unique challenges of being a student athlete. I think some of us might forget what it was like to be in high school and have 7 classes and hours of homework and AP tests and all of this, pressure from parents, and then also you have practice every day and a big game coming up and your coach on. That's a lot of stress for people to face, and
it is
that was unique to student athletes. So they came together and kind of developed ways to work through that, worked on strategies to decompress and de-stress, and then it grew into beyond just student athletes because so many of our students were looking for those connections as well. So our Mindset Matchup Club has really become our student mental health awareness club. They do lots of various activities throughout the year. They just had Mental Health Awareness Week where they, put up signs and did activities at lunches and in homeroom to allow students to express themselves and learn more about mental health awareness. And I think it really is powerful when it's peer to peer and student to student helping each other. I mean, we can talk to the students all day long, and eventually we might all start sounding like the Charlie Brown teacher. Student to student, peer to peer, more powerful. So.
Right. And we also, with the Mindset Matcha Club, we also had this year a random act of kindness week
That's
that
right.
we recognized during the National Random Act of Kindness Week. And I loved seeing, the students go out of their way to be kinder to people who they may not have been in contact with.
Mhm.
And as Dr. Moran said, the Mindset Matchup students, they run the show. I mean, the two moderators are in charge of it, but themselves and myself, we were there to assist, but they ran the show, and they were their ideas on the activities to do that week. And it was really wonderful seeing students go out of their way, for an entire week, because we realize also that one other thing that came from COVID is the socialization part. And I think sometimes people just forget that a friendly face and a kind word, what it can do to someone who might be experiencing stress and anxiety. So I thought those 2 weeks, as Dr. Brand said, the Mental Health Awareness Week and the Random Act of Kindness Week, were wonderful weeks here. And we plan on, continuing that, because we know that it takes, building up positive habits to have that ripple effect and infect the entire school community.
Oh, that's wonderful. And like you say, having that come from the students, originating it from the
Mhm.
students,
Mhm.
will have so much more impact than any of us getting up and saying, hey, this is important. And so
Mhm.
I would imagine, Mary Kate, as you work with that group, you are looking for leaders who can kind of help spread the word, spread the message around the campus, because you've got a lot of kids, a lot of students, I
Mhm.
should say, who are out
Right.
there, and you want to get the word out about the work, that there is support, that there is help.
Right. Yes. And when I first came to Shanahan this year and I went to my first meeting, I remember saying to my colleagues, "This is amazing. The kids are running the show." I mean, I was so impressed that the students weren't like in charge of the meeting, and the kids really, they buy into it. And then another initiative that started this year, Dr. Moran, was the enrichment periods.
Mhm.
And it's allowing students, we all know that students sometimes can, have to choose between one activity and another. So what Shanahan has started this year is having enrichment periods certain times throughout the year during the school day. So it allows students who may have too many activities on their plate after school, that they can be part of them during the school day, which I think is wonderful. And then it allows students who may not, come in contact with themselves, get to know other students in an activity that they both chose.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm curious, not all of us are athletic, not all students join, sports teams and
Hmm.
such, but I would imagine that with the whole body, mind, and spirit piece, like there's still the mental health piece, exercise and being active, and
Hmm.
mobility, especially for young people with a lot of energy to burn, and going
Right.
through a lot of changes in life. That's got to be an important part as well, wouldn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
One of the activities during the enrichment that I was so thrilled to see was one of our health and PE teachers did yoga.
Mm.
There was another teacher who did some walking with students. There was some gaming. So it wasn't, what I loved, it wasn't just sports. Actually, sports was the smallest number. It was other activities, because we know not all students want to do a sport. So it was other activities. And yes, 100%. The exercise is a big one. We also talk about another program, Dr. Moran. I don't know that if you said it was SOAR,
All right.
and
Yeah.
that was a new initiative, which is for the freshmen
Yep.
who are new to the school, and it touches on many topics. But one of them that I was involved with was, we went to the classrooms and we talked about coping skills and the unhealthy versus healthy coping strategies, which I think is, was very important and good for our ninth grade students to hear as they come into school. Hmm.
Yes. So that SOAR program stands for Student Orientation and Readiness. It's our freshman year orientation program that begins over the summer, and giving students just the kind of comfort that they need to be comfortable when they come to school, like where the locker is, how to get through 7 classes and stuff like that. So the kind of the nuts and bolts of what a high school day looks like. But then throughout the school year, counselors and administrators visit various classes, freshman classes throughout the year, to talk about things like resiliency, executive functioning skills,
Hmm.
organizational skills. Again, trying to give them those skills to be successful in high school and beyond.
hmm And when we did the coping skills part, one of the things we talked about that even for some students, there are many free apps they can use for calming themselves, and we showed them some as well. And when I have students come see me, I have lamps in my office, so sometimes I'll shut the lights a little bit to dim it because that helps a
Mhm.
little bit. And I'll say to them, "Are you someone who the calming music helps?" And they're like, "Yes." So I'll
Mhm.
put on some quiet music, or it might be like the rainforest, and that is something then that they can take when they leave here as well. And I have some students who told me that they do it at home as well because it helps them kind of calm down a little bit.
Yeah. I remember with one of my girls during the lockdown, I could tell she was just kind of going, you bouncing off the walls, just needing to get out. So
Mhm.
on a daily basis, because we were all locked down together, I said, "All right,
Mm-hmm.
we're going for a walk. Let's go
Go for
for
a
a
walk.
walk." And we would just
Mm-hmm.
walk around the neighborhood 4 or 5 times, and we
Mm-hmm.
had the best conversations. I mean, selfishly as a dad, it was awesome having her all to
Mm-hmm.
myself, and just listening. I would just listen, just let her talk. But at the same time, we're moving, we're getting out, we're being healthy, we're exercising, and those were some of my best memories from
Yeah,
COVID.
that's
Selfishly as a parent, you had them all to yourself, but
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
that's
That's when I,
awesome.
I always I say to people, one of the things during COVID that I really enjoyed was seeing entire families out for walks, from
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
older kids to younger kids, and everyone together walking in the park. Like, it's something you didn't see before COVID,
That's right.
Right.
and I hope
Mm-hmm.
that's continued.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that it provides that time outside, like you said, but it also provides that
Mm-hmm.
quality family time where everyone's
Right.
disconnected from their devices and outside enjoying God's creation. It's just
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
100%,
Agreed.
100%. Linda, I
Mm-hmm.
want to pull you a little bit into this
Sure.
conversation. Linda and I serve on Saint John Vianney Center's Suicide Prevention and Awareness Collaborative. And Linda, you were in the group a little longer than I. Could you share with us a little bit about how our program got started at Saint John Vianney Center?
Sure. I would say it was like a grassroots movement inside our organization. It just started several years ago with a small handful of us heading down to Center City, Philadelphia for the Out of the Darkness walk.
Mhm.
And from there, it grew into let's have these summer long fundraisers. So we have something called Friday Fun Days in the summertime. You can look at Jim and see he's kind of buttoned up, and we're a buttoned up organization around here. So all you have to do is have one theme of, it's a dress down day. We could raise a lot of money with that. So
That's right. We look
um,
forward to those. Yes.
yes, we do. And we have them spaced out very nicely through the summer. So we have raised a lot of money, and through that, we've brought in a lot more of our employees have joined, and we have vendors who now want to be a part of it, and it's morphed into this collaboration that is led by our CEO, our president and CEO, David Schellenberger. He's our committee chairperson. So it's really top down here. It's a cause that hits close to home for us as a behavioral health center, and has just really morphed. So we're proud of it.
Yeah, and I would just echo that. I think it's amazing to me how many families that suicide has
Mm.
touched,
Mhm.
and also um, just some of the misconceptions about suicide, like oh, we don't want to talk about it because that might plant ideas in someone's head, and
Right.
just some of the misnomers, and then even some of the research that we've done over the last year to see witnessing the rates have actually increased nationally over the last couple of years according to the CDC.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Kate, I'm just curious, from your perspective, any advice to parents who are concerned maybe about their child, maybe suffering from some depression, or maybe even concerned that they might be contemplating something like that? How would you advise a parent in that way, if I could ask?
Mm-hmm. So I would recommend that they can either reach out to myself or school counselor, which has happened sometimes where we have a parent who will reach out to us first and ask them if we would talk to their child. I will do a suicide risk assessment on the student and get their level of crisis at that moment.
Mhm.
They can also go to their primary care doctor for referral. If there's an immediate need, there is Valley Creek Crisis Center. We have been in communication with Valley Creek Crisis Center as well. I think it's so important that we have, collaborative partnerships with
Mhm.
our community resources, because we want to take the stigma away that it's scary going to places like that, because their goal is to help our children as well as it is for us. And that if you think something might be wrong, address it sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of our young students now who do go to outside therapy because of their stress and anxiety. And I have, heard from students and parents alike that it can be a game changer for a lot of our students, being able to
Mhm.
have an outside person. I mean, they have me and their counselor here as well, but there's some of our students do appreciate having a regular therapist. So my recommendation would be, if you have a concern about your child, even if you think it's something minor, I would reach out sooner than later, because the
Mhm.
quicker you address it, the quicker you can get someone to a better, healthier place. Because I do think that when you wait too long, that is when it can get worse for students, because, as I said earlier, they can get in their head and just start thinking the worst about themselves. And, when I meet with students, some students will have the misnomer that I'm here to fix them and I'm going to tell them
Mhm.
what to do. And that's not really my role. My role is to work with them and us collaborate together. And most times they figure it out on their own. It just takes them a minute to get there. So I would definitely recommend, there are some signs. If your child is sleeping more, if they're not eating as much, if their grades drop down dramatically, if they're isolated themselves, I would, at that moment, I would reach out to a mental health professional, either in the school or in your local resources, to see if it warrants further assistance for your child.
Mhm.
And just to kind of piggyback off that, Mary Kate, and this kind of connects with something that Jim said earlier, that it's okay to talk about it. So
Yes.
all of our teachers are trained in QPR, question, persuade, refer. If they suspect a student is thinking about
Hmm.
suicide, to ask
Hmm.
them flat out, like, have you considered
Hmm.
this? And it's not implanting an idea in their head.
It's not.
Right.
It's
Hmm.
in order to seek out the right help, we need to know what's going on. So, um,
Right. Hmm.
not being afraid to bring it up and talk about it.
And talk about it.
And then getting the help that you need, because while all of our teachers are trained to question, persuade, and refer, they're not trained therapists or counselors, but we
Hmm.
can help students get the help they need, and
Hmm.
connect them with the professionals that can help them get through the crisis.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda, when I remember the conversation when we were trying to figure out, we had raised these funds and we weren't
Mhm.
certain. It took us a couple of years, but we raised a few $1,000s, which was amazing with our Friday Fun Days. And we were trying to figure out, what is the best way we could make an impact on this mission that we've all dedicated ourselves to in our center. And there was just such excitement when this idea of bringing the bench to Bishop Shanahan came up. Can you describe that? I mean, I thought everybody around the room, it was like unanimous. We wanted to do this with
It
Bishop Shanahan.
was. That's right, Jim. It really was. We were very thoughtful about our approach. It was a very measured decision, and one of the members of the collaboration found Josh's benches, and as soon as that information, as Jim said, went around the room, we were like, "Yes, this is what we're meant to do. This is,
Mhm.
we Saint John Vianney Center. We've been doing this for almost 80 years.
Mhm.
So
Same.
it's just time for us to share our knowledge, share our resources, and
Mhm.
I'm happy that we can do that with Bishop Shanahan, because it all kicked off with Bishop Shanahan.
Mhm.
Yeah. Bishop Shanahan, for those that don't know, and a lot of our listeners won't know, that Bishop Shanahan's actually right across the street from our
Right.
center. We've been neighbors for a long, long time now, and we were just excited that we could do something together in this way. And what I'll put we had the dedication of the bench just a few weeks ago, and we'll put a link to the article with the pictures on Bishop Shanahan's website. And you guys did a beautiful job of capturing that day
That's right.
and the spirit of what that bench is to represent. And it was put in a very public place, right, so that people could see it. Really coming from any direction in that parking lot, you're going to see this bench. Can you tell us, Dr. Moran or Mary Kate, a little bit about how you guys thought about it, and did you include the students a little bit in thinking about where to put this bench?
Sure. So yeah, we did place it in a very high volume place, one of the most high trafficked areas between the athletic entrance of the building, the inside building, and our stadium, our football stadium and athletic stadium, where other sports play too. But people coming for football games, lacrosse games, soccer games, students going to practice, there's always people walking by that bench, and it's already started conversations. We hosted a district championship game for lacrosse last week, and everyone coming in saw the bench. Oh, what's that bench? And that really kicks off a conversation. Also serves as a nice place to sit too. So,
yeah.
We considered a bunch of different places, but focused on that because it's somewhere where students will see it, community members will see it, parents will see it, and it is like you said, a very high traffic area, and has already started conversations.
Yes, and Jim, what you had said earlier about mind, body, and spirit, taking care of all of that. The mindset matchup kids were thrilled about the bench. They were so happy. And I do think that, Shanahan is, doing a wonderful job of addressing all three of those. It is nice that students and parents are becoming more comfortable talking about mental health as much as we talk about physical health. Because, we do all these things when we break an arm or we have a headache or we do something. So it's nice to see that, and you can get better and feel better. So it's nice to see that people are addressing the mental health and there is less of a stigma. And, I even have students refer students to me. If a student doesn't come on their own, a student will email me saying, I'm worried about my friend. Can you just check in with them? So the fact that I'm getting those referrals as well. And I will say a lot of times, it is nothing major, but students, they are like, oh, someone was worried about me. That's so nice.
Yeah.
So I think that is wonderful. And then the spirit part, we as a community attend mass together and, we are, Shanahan is forgotten for others. And I do think that is important after being in a public school and now being in a Catholic school. I do think that, is also an excellent piece to point out when it comes to our, emotional and mental health for our students, because we do have that other layer of support with our faith.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably maybe the best place to end for us today. I just want to thank you, Dr. Moran, Mary Kate, and Linda, for joining me on this episode. The conversation was wonderful, and I hope that those who are listening maybe learned something new, and maybe we will put links to the National Suicide Awareness and Prevention hotline in the show notes, and also a link to Josh's benches if you're interested in participating in that with your own school or your own organization. It's a wonderful organization. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, Linda. With the collaborative, we would love to partner with more schools to do another bench with the other schools, maybe here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia or maybe even beyond. So I'll put a link to my contact information in the show notes as well. Again, everyone, thanks to all of you for this great conversation. Thanks for joining us for this great episode, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.